Can you plug your phone in by any chance? I don't mean to throw a loop into your...
Me?
Yes.
Me?
Yes.
Do you know how long it took me to get this done?
Your picture will be clearer if you're plugged in, I think. That's the problem.
No, it's my lens. It's not the picture. My phone is not. It's the lens.
What do you
My
mean
lens
it's
is
the
not.
lens?
My camera lens. Let's just move along here. Don't worry about that's just.
Is it
It's the
dirty?
lens. No, well, it says it's dirty, but it's not. It's clean. All right, hold on. I'll try it
No,
again.
it's not clear. It's like fuzzy. Oh my God. I made the mistake of telling her that I can edit things out. All right, that's better. Me talk about my sister on just about every episode we've done. And finally, I got her to come on here to give her insight.
Yay, Renee!
This is the sister, my caregiver, Renee. Renee Sokovic, real estate agent extraordinaire.
So Renee isn't like Madonna, only one name?
Yes.
Okay.
This is going to be interesting. Renee was there from the beginning, and she took care of me, and we freaked out together when we didn't know what the hell was going on. And so we'll get her point of view of things. Hello, Renee, my sister.
Hello, how are you? Hi, Brenda.
I think
how are you?
we're gonna get a lot of the lighter side. I think there's gonna be a lot of
we're gonna get lots of comments and emails. Who the hell was that?
I will try my best to remember not to drop the F-bomb, but I just can't guarantee. Depends on where we go with the conversation.
It's okay. Bring yourself back to 2004.
Okay.
All right. So, Brenda, will you start us off with the question of the day?
When I decide what the question is going to be, it has to be something that Tracy and I are both willing to answer as well, which is a little tricky in this case. So, as I was thinking about it, I realized, I have people in my life, even though it's only 6 years ago, and it's funny to say only 6 years for me, but they're already like enough already. They don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
So I'm curious about you. My question would be for all of us, is there anything that you would say is different for you now than from day one? And I know it's a little out of order because then we're going to ask you to talk about what day one was like for you. But is there anything different for you?
When I think about the actual day itself, it's still horrifying to me because I can remember it like it was yesterday. When I think about how often I don't think about it now because of all the healing and therapy and changes that she's made, I'm better. It's hard to explain it. I don't let that define her. I don't let that happen because Tracy was always with a disability, for our entire lives. So I never looked at her as somebody that is disabled because in my eyes she's not. She's smart. She's, you know what I mean? Like she functions every day. And so no, so to answer that question the right way or the way I truly feel is when I sit and I think about it, it's scary, it's sad, and it's thankful because I thought she was going to die. When I think about it today and then I look back at the process and the progress, I'm amazed and I'm thankful and grateful.
No, that's a good answer.
So Trey?
Looking back and how I've changed or what's different?
What's different today than
on day one? Well, I didn't know what the heck was going on.
Right.
So now I have more energy. I have more hope. I've seen how far I've come and I still have goals. And yeah, I still have my physical issues, but that's just me. But yeah, I feel stronger. I feel more hopeful. So I guess that's my answer. What about you, Bren?
Great answers. I have to say, in listening to both of you give me hope because as I started out saying, for me to say only 6 years feels weird because 6 years feels like a really long freaking time. But to talk to the two of you, knowing that this 22 years ago was your day one, is it gives me hope that there is healing, there's growth, there is a feeling of positivity to come of what's going to be next. And I think that that's fantastic. So, to answer the question for myself, I don't remember day one. I don't remember month one. So it's hard for me
Yeah.
to answer my own question. I should have thought about that, but I didn't. So from the beginning of what I do remember, which is already spotty, to now, I definitely have to focus on the little wins. And I have to remember that everything is temporary. So I might have a great day with lots more energy than I had the day before, but I don't know if that's going to last. I don't know what tomorrow will bring. So I think I've gotten better at today than at the beginning, at able to kind of like be a little bit more nimble to bob and weave with whatever's coming, because I don't know what's coming. And I know, Trey, you and I have talked about, I will say yes, in theory, to any invitation that comes out, but I don't
Yep.
know how I'm going to actually feel on the day of. So I have to be willing to be patient with myself, to be honest with whoever's asking. And I think I've gotten better at that because
Mhm.
I feel that I can be honest without being an asshole.
Well, people have to be flexible with you because,
That's
you
great.
don't know, we can make plans and then the day comes and we have no energy or you have a headache or you're just exhausted. So I get that. I completely
I know
get
you.
that. So, Renee, let's go back to 2004.
Okay.
Day
You
one.
Let me set the stage. You were selling real estate. You had two teenagers. Robert was 16, I think. Emily was 14. And
Right.
you found out you were pregnant. So,
And before
yeah.
that, I just started a major house renovation 2 months before I
Yes,
found
I
out I was
remember that.
pregnant. So the
I
house was
remember that.
torn apart, and then I found out I was pregnant. And I always said renovations were planned, this pregnancy was not.
Yeah. Yes. And I
Yeah.
was living with you guys because I
Right.
had moved down. I had moved down from Rochester and Renee said, stay with us until you get a job and get on your feet. Ironically,
Right.
the day that this happened, I had found an apartment. Do you remember me telling you that, Renee? Remember my whole
Yeah.
deposit debacle?
Yeah. Yep.
I
Yeah, I
found an
do.
apartment and I gave them the deposit and I was going to move in like 2 weeks later. So that's where we start from. So Renee was pretty fragile. The day that it happened, I remember the
I
headache from the night before.
I can
And
tell you.
if Emily gets home, I'd love to have her jump in to just give her the poor thing. I traumatized her for life with the onset of the headache. She was with me, but go ahead, Renee. What's your recollection?
So for me, it was you had a headache that morning and it was pretty intense. And you had gone to the chiropractor because we didn't know what else to do. You went to the chiropractor and he adjusted you. You came back home. And I don't remember if it was the same day or the next day because this kind of blurs. This is blurry. But you were on the couch and The Apprentice was on TV. And it was like
Yeah,
their first season of The Apprentice.
yeah.
We had the twins here, Gio and Skylar, who were, I want to say 3 maybe. Yeah, I
I
believe they
think
were 3
yeah, they
years
were
old.
like 2 going on 3. Yeah,
And I remember being in the kitchen. You were laying on the couch. The kids were right next to you. I don't remember what they were doing. They were playing with the coffee table, something on the coffee table, but looking at you, and you were talking to them. And I was looking down at the counter at something, and I just happened to look up. And the only thing that I saw was this: you were banging your chest so hard. And I'm like, what are you doing? Banging your chest. And then you took your fist and you were banging your right ear. And I'm
okay.
like, Tracy. And then you just went, and I thought you died.
Oh
So
god.
I'm home. I'm home with the babies because our brother, who those are his kids, him, my husband, and my son were at a hockey game. He was playing hockey at the time. He was 16. And they were like in Nassau County. He had a game. My daughter was sleeping over her friend's house. So I'm in the house by myself with my sister, who I thought just died. I have two babies that have no clue what's going on. I had no clue what was going on. And I called 911 right away. I then called my husband and I told him something happened. You got to get home. You got to get home. And he's like, well, it's going to take us 40 minutes. I said, the ambulance is coming. Get home. So then I'm talking to Tracy. She's not answering me. Ambulance gets here within 5 minutes, thankfully. And they come upstairs. I'm in a high ranch. They came upstairs. They went to the couch. With that, I took the kids and I went to my bedroom with them because I didn't want them to be scared and seeing what was going on, you know. So they were like, what happened? What happened? And I said, oh, Aunt Tracy has a headache, but she's going to be okay, because the police officer was in the house plus the emergency people were in there. They're going to help her and they're going to fix her. And they were like, okay. Okay, and then I would go back and forth from my bedroom to the couch just to see what was going on, you know. And I kept saying, is she okay? Is she, you know, does she have, is she breathing? Is she this? Is she that?" They were like, "She has a pulse. She's going to be okay. We're going to get her to the hospital." So they take her, and with that, within 5 seconds after she left, my husband and brother pull up. So now she's on the way to the hospital, and then my brother goes to the hospital, and then I'm just a mess because I don't know what happened. I just didn't know. And I'm just trying to keep my niece and my nephew like nothing happened. And I shouldn't have done that either, but it was just my coping mechanism to protect the kids, make sure they're happy, and make sure they understand that it's safe. So my brother's at the hospital. I'm home with the kids, with my husband, and all night, I'm calling my brother to see what was going on. I remember him telling me that she vomited and it's like coffee grinds. And I'm like, what the hell? And then he called me back and he said, they said there's bleeding. I'm like, where? And he goes, in her brain. Like, what the fuck happened? And he goes, I don't know. He goes, but, you know, they have her stabilized now, but they are going to transfer her. So I said, okay, well, where? And he goes, I don't know yet. So then he spent the night there. Then he came home, and then I went up that morning. And they said they were going to transfer her to Manhattan to Beth Israel. So they said I can follow them there. And I said, no, I'm going with you. I won't say anything. I won't do anything. And I won't touch your equipment. I promise. They said, okay.
That's when
So
I
we went.
came to and I heard her arguing.
I was not letting her go alone, because just imagine yourself if, you know, going through what you just went through and then waking up and not hearing a familiar voice. Even if you can't see that person, just to hear that person will right away be like, okay, I'm okay. You know, she's got it. Like I know I'm safe. Like I'm okay.
Well, I
So
hear her yelling at somebody, I'm going, and
I didn't
I
care.
woke
They were like, you're
up and I hear her and I go, "What is my sister mad about?" I remember saying that. And they're like, "She wants to come in the ambulance, but we can't because it's a liability." And I literally said, "You're not going to win this. Just let her come." That's exactly what I said.
So they made me sit in
Yeah.
the front seat, which was fine. I didn't have to sit in the back, you know. They made me sit in the front next to the driver, and I was fine. I didn't say a word. And we get there, and they get her into the room, and you know, they start right away what they had to do. And my husband and my brother drove there, and I'll never forget this. They said to me, "Now I'm by myself in the hospital," and again, I'm like, I think I was 4 months pregnant, 3 or 4 months pregnant. And the doctor comes over to me and he goes, "I need you to sign this form." And I said, "What am I signing?" He said, "We have to drill a hole in your sister's head to get the blood out." I went, "What?" And he goes, "Your sister has blood in her head, on her brain. We got to get it out." Now I'm by myself in a hospital. I don't know anybody. I can't call anybody. I don't know what to do. And I looked at them and I said, "I have to believe in you and believe in God right now. So if you're telling me this is what's going to save her life, of course I'm going to sign it." Okay, so we did. I signed the paperwork. Then he says, "Come here, I want to show you something." So he brings me from the waiting room to the nurse's station. And behind the nurse's station, I remember it being a board that they put up x-rays and things like that. And he's showing me, I don't remember the image. I remember there being an image, but I don't remember exactly what he was pointing out, but I remember what he said. He said to me that your sister, the back of her head, you know, he goes, "You have two carotid arteries." And he said, "She doesn't. The back of your sister's head," he goes, "imagine a hand." He said, "So when she was in utero, she had a stroke and her body developed on its own, developed the supply to get the blood supply to get to her brain, the blood supply to get into her head." He said, "So her body naturally did this. So she doesn't." So I looked at him and I go, "They always said she had cerebral palsy, and that's why she had her hands, hand, a lazy foot, like the whole, her limp." And he said, "No, she had a stroke in utero." Now, back in the 70s, who the frick knew anything about a sonogram? My
Right.
mother had no idea. And so they labeled her and they diagnosed her with something that she didn't have. So her whole life until she was, 30, I guess,
Yeah,
she
32.
32, she we all did. We just, whatever. Anyway, so then I was still by myself and I'm like still trying to breathe this out. And this is before I was on any anxiety medication, which I should have been on.
We should note that Renee
But
has an anxiety issue.
And so then I go back into the waiting. I said I wanted to see her. They said, okay. I go in there and I remember saying, Tracy, they're going to have to get the blood out of your head. I'm right here. I'm going to be right here. They wouldn't let me in the room, but I stood outside the door. I said, I'm going to be right in front of in the hallway right here. Okay, fine. So they did that. My husband and my brother finally get there. We spend the day, we spend the night there. We sleep overnight. We slept on this couch, all three of us. It was so funny. It was like a big L shaped, hard ass couch, and the three of us laid across it just to sleep, get some sleep, and then they would come in and wake us up to tell us different things and what they had to do. So she goes in, they go into her through her groin. They said to us the next day that they had to clip one and coil two. Now this is all Chinese to me. I know broken bones and I know appendix and I know
Right.
diverticulitis. And what do you mean?
Right.
Like you're drilling a hole in her head. Now you're telling me that you're clipping shit out of her brain, and you're telling me that you couldn't
Yeah.
fix the two that were in there, but you had to put something in it that looks like a spring, put that in her brain, in two of the coils. So now what? Do we wait for, And they said, no, 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 it'll be in there. It'll be good. Don't worry. Okay, fine. They do that. She gets now into, and I'm fast forwarding, but she gets into a step down room from ICU. And now they get her up and they get her walking in the hallway. And she's walking with me and the doctor and the nurse, and she's going, ow, I can't walk. I can't walk. So I'm thinking it was a stiffness from being in bed. And she's like, no, it's painful. Okay, so then they bring her back in and then they realize she has blood clots. Okay, so now I'm like, holy crap. Like she just survived this. She has blood clots now. Like what does this mean? And this I'll never forget, and I'm still annoyed when I think about it. The doctor looked at me and he said, so we're going to put a green filter in her, which was fine. And I said, what is that? He goes, it's a filter that's up high that if she ever gets blood clots, it'll, it won't get to her, lungs or her heart, whatever. He said, it won't get anywhere. It won't go past that. Okay, fine. He goes, but she has one in her lung. And I said, well, what do we do about that? He goes, what do you want us to do? There's nothing we can do. I went, what? That's
Yeah,
your
it's
answer to
crazy.
me? I
That's
go, that's your
crazy.
answer to me? There's nothing you can do. So are you telling me that she's going to die from this blood clot? She just survived an aneurysm? And now you're telling me she's going to die from this? And he goes, I'm just giving you facts. I go, well, you need to do a better job at it because you're not explaining yourself in a way that somebody that's in shock that's going to comprehend what the hell just came out of your mouth.
Wow.
So then the nurse came over and she says, calm down, we'll talk to you, we'll explain it better. And they did, and then I was better at it. So then she got the green filter, and then she was walking up and trying to walk and get, but she was very demanding, and not that she meant to be, but I guess going through what she went through, she was just like, I want whatever it was. Say it was a piece of chocolate, I want chocolate. And I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, but I had to go, like there was no vending machine there, like I had to go downstairs, this that the and and I'm like, okay, but I'll get you chocolate, but not now. She goes, I need it now. And I'm
Yeah.
looking at her, and part of me wanted to smack her and be like, Heffa, I'm 4 months pregnant in the hospital, not knowing if I'm going to live or die. And you're demanding a fucking piece of chocolate from me right now? Like, I wanted to
That
smoke a joint, and she wanted chocolate. So
Well,
I
that's a
had to get
brain
firm with her.
injury. You don't know what the hell you're saying.
I remember looking at her and I had to get firm, and I'm like, I will get you the chocolate when I can. Right now, you're going to sit here and we're going to wait a few minutes. So that's that. Now, back up to when she was in ICU, and I'm pacing the floors and I'm wondering what's going to happen next. And all the people that were coming in for different reasons. One person, this woman comes in, they wheel her in, I see them rushing her into the room. This is a nice, I heard the story because I'm nosy. I am that person. I'm in the hallway listening to everybody else's problems.
yes,
And
she
she
was.
was going to visit her husband in that hospital, and it was icing. It was very icy, and she slipped, she fell, and she cracked her head open. So she's in the one room. So I made sure I went in the room to Tracy, and I'm like, "Oh my God, you wouldn't believe this! This woman was visiting her husband in this hospital, out in the parking
Told
lot
me
right
about
here." And
everybody.
and I go, and she fell, and she cracked her head open. What the hell? Like, what are the odds? That's crazy, right? Then, like an hour later, some guy gets wheeled in, and he had a gunshot wound to his head. He got shot in the head. I'm like, holy fuck, this guy ain't gonna survive. What the hell? Like, this is crazy. So now I'm
Nuts.
listening in the hallway to the doctors and talking what they're doing and how they're doing this and everything else. So now I'm like, okay. So then I go in the room and I tell Tracy, you're not gonna believe this one. Holy cow. So I went into that. Meanwhile, she can't talk. She's just like, she's got this thing in her head and I see a bag of blood and I see another bag coming because she kept filling up the bags. So then the next day, this hef is out of the bed that got shot in the head. He's out
Yeah.
of his bed walking. I go in the room, I go, what's your problem? You got
Yeah.
a thing in your head. He got shot.
Yeah.
He got shot in the head and he was up and walking. It was crazy. So that
Yeah.
was basically, it was traumatic. I always say that it was traumatic to her for the recovery, but it was traumatic for me for the beginning because she doesn't remember that part. And thankfully she doesn't remember it.
Yeah. I
But
remember a lot
watching
of
it,
it, but
not the
yeah.
actual thing you said. You don't remember the hitting your chest, hitting your
No.
ear. You will remember
No, no,
saying I
no.
have a
Yeah, I
headache.
don't remember because I went unconscious, but I have a lot of
Yeah.
memories of when I was awake and you definitely coming in and telling me about everybody you met in the family waiting room and what
Yes.
everyone's story was, and then saying, "What's wrong
Even
with you? He got."
I knew about the man that was shot in the head from
Yeah,
you telling me.
yeah. Brenda, she doesn't know how often I talk about her in all of
Yeah.
our episodes. Renee, you probably talked about in like 85% of our episodes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm always like, oh yeah, my sister did this, my sister said that.
Mhm. That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Well, I have to say that Renee is an incredible advocate because anything I need, Renee's always the one that if you need shit done, you're going to have Renee take care of it because she's not going to take no for an answer and she's going to ask all the questions and make sure everyone's doing what they need to do. But I'm thankful for that every day because a lot of people don't have an advocate, especially if they're unconscious. And I knew that I had a support system when I got home because, I didn't live alone. I
But
was
that was
living with
what I
her.
did. That's what I did my whole life because
Yeah.
you always had, and I never let anybody treat you like you had a disability. So if kids were to pick on you or say something to you or whatever, my first reaction would be to jump them. And then I would
Yeah.
tell them, don't you talk about my sister like that. But you played sports. You played baseball in the backyard with us. You did there was nothing that I did that you didn't do. We rode bikes
Hmm.
together. We rolled down the hill together. We threw snowballs at cars together. Like there was nothing. The only difference is I made the snowballs for you. But that would be
Hmm.
it. Like you did everything with me. In my eyes, you were able to do all of it. So where's the disability? You limped, your
Yeah.
left hand you couldn't use. You learned how to use your right hand that most people couldn't do. I couldn't do it. If you took my left arm right now, I'd be so screwed. I wouldn't do anything. I wouldn't know. You do everything with the right side. So, well, that's just how it is. So
So
Right.
in a way, all of that growing up with the misdiagnosis was really preparation for what was to come when you were 32.
Yeah.
yeah,
It
I
for
mean,
basically
you
sure.
was like,
come away to be trained, but you were trained to deal with what happened. And
mhm.
Renee, I want to know, as I'm listening to you talk, and when I listened to Jay and my kids talk, and Tracy, not to take anything away from what you and I went through, but I have to say, when I listen to the experience of our loved ones going through that, I feel like I think that's maybe I can't imagine seeing someone I love going through something like that and worry or having the worries that you had of like, is she dead? Like,
Yeah,
or
Right.
I had no idea.
having to listen to the doctor say things to you. I cannot imagine. So thank you for that. And thank you for being such a wonderful advocate for Tracy.
Yeah.
And
I couldn't
not
imagine
only
going through that.
2 years ago, but her whole life, because
Yeah,
it was really, you started being a caregiver for her way before this
yeah.
happened. This was just a new chapter of it.
She's 2.5 years older and she was always looked out for me. My brother too. I remember being picked on getting on the school bus and Eddie Stanek, remember him?
Oh
Around the
God, yeah,
corner from us.
yeah,
I remember trying to get up the steps of the school bus and they were, high steps and I was slower than everyone else. So Eddie was behind me and he's like, come on, hurry up. What's wrong with you? When stuff like that happened when I was a kid, I know how my brother and sister are. So I held a lot from them because I knew how they would react. But I remember talking about it at dinner. And the next day, I found out that my brother went right up to his house and beat the crap out of him because he kind of harassed me. So yeah,
Wow.
they've done that my whole life. And, I'm thankful and I'm grateful because I always had older brother and sister that were ahead of me in grades. So they kind of paved the way for me and prepared everyone around them. Like, don't mess with my sister because you're going to have to deal with us. So I
Yeah.
was protected. I was protected a lot. I always felt like I had bodyguards.
yeah.
And Wayne always seemed to be the next, like, he was never in the school with me as far as I can remember because he was always the next school up, like middle school,
Yeah.
junior high. So Renee was always there though. I remember
Renee also
another
got left
incident.
back. There's a reason that Renee was
Oh
always
yeah,
there.
that's
Renee got
right.
left
You're
back
2.5
one
years
time
older,
though,
but she was just one
just one
time.
time.
She was left back. So she was 1 grade ahead of me. So
Yeah.
another another episode I remember was, now I was a nerd. Renee will tell you I was the teacher's pet. I did everything right. And
Extra
Right.
credit.
when I got
Extra
sick,
fucking. Who does extra credit at home when it's the weekend? Who cares? Enjoy it. Like, why do you have to do something to go in and get a gold star on Monday? I could give a shit about that star. I could
yeah,
care.
yeah, they made fun of me horribly for that. But I remember, if I was in school and I felt sick, I was sick because there's no way I wanted to go home. So I remember going to the nurse and I had a fever or whatever. And I'm sitting there, she's taking my temperature, and all of a sudden, my sister comes flying through the nurse's door. What's wrong with my sister? And the nurse is like, she's fine, Renee. Everyone knew Renee because she's usually walking the halls. And now I must have been in like 5th grade or 4th grade. And Renee was in like 5th grade. So I hear her go, if she's sick, she's sick. Send her home. She says she doesn't feel good. She doesn't feel good. And I'm like, Renee, it's okay. Go back to class. No, I want to make sure she calls and you get home. I'm like, Renee, go back to class. I'm telling her this. Yeah, so that's been her my whole life. But I remember going back to
But nothing has
2004.
changed.
Yeah,
Nothing has changed.
nothing's changed. Not at all. So I remember, being in ICU and her doing that, coming in. But what I also remember was how the nurses worked to you, because they had to bring in all the x-rays and everything to the bed in ICU instead of moving me to, like,
Yeah.
constantly
Yeah.
felt like they were doing some kind of x-ray, right? So then the nurses would tell you to come behind the nurses station. I remember you saying,
Yes.
and duck down under the counter.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you guys.
Because I was pregnant, they didn't want me with the radiation, with the x-rays or whatever. I took the train every day to the hospital because I never wanted her to be alone in a hospital. And meanwhile, half the time it didn't bother her that she was alone. It was more, she was sleeping a lot. She just had traumatic brain injury. So she was really like sleeping a lot, healing, trying to rest. But I was there every day, and the nurses, they knew me, and they knew that when I got there, the shit was happening. Like, I wanted to know a report. I was crazy. It was like almost like when I came in, they had to show me a full report of what her night was like, and what our morning
Mhm.
is, how the morning is going, and then what the evening is going to bring. Like, when I left, I wanted to know what they were doing, what medication she was on, all of it. But when it came time for her to step down, they wanted her to go to rehabilitation. I wanted her to go to St. Charles. I fought for her because they were just going to send her someplace in Queens. And I'm like, no, I want her to go. I want her to come closer to me, but not only closer to me, I want her to go to a place that I know that she's been before. She went to camp at St. Charles for, children with disabilities. She's had her
Right.
surgery there with
Right.
her leg in St. Charles. So I'm like, let her go back to St. Charles, because to me, it was comforting to know that that hospital has always dealt with some sort of rehabilitation. And so in my mind and in my heart, that would be the best place for her to go. So they were telling me, they were just trying to fight me on it. And I just looked at them and I said, listen, if I have to take her in my car and drive her there, I will. I said, so either you're going to take her by ambulance or ambulette, or I'm going to put her in my car and drive. You're not going to stop me. So you better figure out how you're going to do it, who you need to call. I said, I've already called. They have a bed ready for her. They can take her. It is covered through her insurance. There is absolutely no reason you don't want to have to pay for the ambulance to get her there. I'll get her there. I don't really care. I said, but that's where she's going. And they
Yeah.
did. Finally, they said, okay, the one nurse goes, all right, you won, you won. I said, good, thank you. I go, if this was your sister, what would you do? Would you sit
That's right.
back and let the doctors and nurse do what they want to do because it was convenient for them? Or
Right.
would you try to do what you knew your sister needed and wanted and would want to have? I said, so pretend that that's your sister in that bed and do what the fuck you would do for that person, not a stranger. She's not a chart on your desk. She's not a person just laying in that bed. I go, that's my sister. So now I want you to act like it's your sister. And once I said that to them,
Right.
they started changing their ways with me, and they started changing how they spoke to me. They're not going to speak down to me because they were just like, well, you wouldn't understand. Well, try me. Don't fucking tell me I wouldn't understand. And if I don't understand, I'm going to tell you, and then you need to re-explain it to me. And I told them, and I
Right.
went to resource room, so you may have to you have to explain it 3 or 4
Resource
times. I told him that, and the nurse cracked up, and the doctor goes, did you just say resource room? I said, yes, I'm not in denial over that. I was in it. Yeah, I was up until 4th grade. I said, but the point is that I may not be book smart, I'm street smart, and I work from my heart. So you do right by my sister, and I will stay calm, cool, and collective. I said, but you need to know something. If I'm not understanding what's happening day by day, you're going to explain it to me until I get it. And they did. They did. And I had to be
Yeah.
firm because of that reason.
Maybe.
So many patients lay in those beds, and the fucking doctors and nurses do what they want to do. And I'm not saying all of them. Listen, they have a hard job, and every person is different. But my point is this: think about the people that have nobody standing next to them. Think about the
Yep.
people that are like, like there's nobody there to make sure that they know, listen, don't give her that. She hates that food. Or don't, like
Mm-hmm.
nobody's there to do that for them, and it's heart-wrenching. I wanted to be there for everybody there. I wanted to be like, call their family
Yeah.
that's in out of state and say,
Right.
hey, what do they like to eat, drink, what do they hate, what are they scared of, what makes them happy, what fills
Right.
their soul.
Right.
Like, that's what I wanted to do, because they lay there and the nurses and doctors would come in and just go and come in. I'm like, I get it, it's hard, it's a hard job, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I have a heart for anybody that is laying in a bed alone, period.
Right. And we do talk about that a lot, like how everybody needs an advocate.
That's right.
Yeah,
Because yeah, especially when you're going through something like a traumatic brain injury and,
right.
whatever, and you're constantly sleeping or in and out of consciousness or whatever. But
When
a
I hear
lot of
somebody
people,
crying in a room, I'll walk into the room,
yeah,
and one of the patients that were in the ICU, she woke up, she was scared, she was screaming, she was crying, and the nurses are like, "You're fine, you're gonna be okay. We called your family." And I looked at the nurse. I go, "Where's her family?" Chicago. So I walked in
Chicago.
there. I wasn't in a uniform. I was in clothes. So right away, it was a little calmer, not much, but a little calmer. And I just said to her, listen, my sister is right next door. I said, I promise you, you're going to be okay. Your family is coming. I said, I'm right here. I said, I will stay here with you. I said, I might have to go check on my sister, but I promise you I'll be back. And I did. And I checked on her because she was so freaking scared.
Yep.
In a hospital, she doesn't even know what happened.
Yeah.
I don't even know what happened. I don't know this person.
Right.
So it was just, she didn't even say anything to me. She couldn't even talk. She didn't know who I was. She was in shock. She doesn't even know
Hmm.
what the hell happened. And I just remember just saying to her, I promise you're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. And she would just stare at me. But you could see in her face, it calmed. It just
Yeah.
calmed down.
Comforting.
She
Yeah.
relaxed.
And then I had the one woman that walked past the room when Tracy was in there, and she says to me, she goes like this. So I go, what? And she goes, above your sister's bed. And I'm looking up. I'm like, what? Like looking for freaking spiders. Like, what am I looking for,
I
lady?
thought alone. You were there for that?
I was there for that.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I was the one who told you. She
Good.
goes,
Oh, I
they're right.
thought I remember seeing her in the doorway.
I was there. I was right. I was the doorway hallway. I was right in that area.
Oh,
She
okay.
goes right there. She goes, your sister has angels all above her, and she's going to
Yeah.
be okay. But
Beautiful.
that's the stuff you need to hear and believe in when your loved one is sitting in a room and you don't know what's going to happen and what the next day is going to bring, the next hour. She's going in for one procedure, then another procedure, then another procedure. And you're like, is this ever going to end? And then she gets through all of that. And then they put her in rehab and it's beautiful. And it's so different from a hospital. And you're thanking God, okay, that's great. And then she comes home. And when she's home, they don't give you a book.
Mm-mm.
They don't give you somebody that's going to explain to you when she goes home, this is what it's going to be. When she
Right.
comes home, just pay attention to this. If this
Right.
happens, take her to the emergency. They don't tell you nothing except, oh, you did so well. You're able to go up a couple of steps. She's eating. She's it. Da, 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 da. So we come home and now we're looking at each other like, what do
Oh
we
my
do next?
God. We were so
Now.
confused.
Nobody said call for the physical therapy, call there was
Right.
no aftercare instructions for the family that was taking care of that person. There was
Right.
just go with it, run with it, be with it. And I'm just sitting there like, I wasn't scared. I was annoyed. I've always taken care of my sister, always. So I wasn't scared. I knew that no matter what it was, I could help her figure it out, what we needed to do next. It wasn't like I felt that something terrible was going to happen or she couldn't handle something. She was going to handle it. So I was so annoyed that there was no aftercare for the family that was taking care of their loved one. And that really ticked me off. So I remember I would call St. Charles and they were like, well, we're just rehabilitation. We can't guide you in, whatever.
Mhm.
So then I would call the hospital and they were like, oh, she was discharged a month and a half ago. And I just remember
They
going,
didn't
what
want to
the
answer.
hell do we do? Like, what do we do? How do I know? And when she first came home, I was giving her heparin shots. I never gave a shot to anybody. I mean, now we're all on Ozempic, so we're shooting each
Yeah.
other up left and right. But back then we weren't. It was you were diabetic
Right.
and you had a needle put in you, like there was just a lot of stuff. But then the physical therapist came. His name was Aaron. Oh my
Yeah,
God,
I remember him.
that man
He
was
was,
smelly.
oh
I
my
wanted to
God, he
puke when we
stunk
walked in the
so
house.
bad.
But I'll tell you one thing. He gave us more information and
Yeah.
explained to us about the internal thermometer and whatever.
Yeah.
I don't remember all of it, but he like went into it that I was like, oh, okay, I'm understanding this now. That no doctor, no nurse, no
Right.
physical therapist besides him was able to tell us what it's going to look like for the next 3 months, and then it
Right.
was 6 months and then it was a year. And then, like they do every couple of months, the revisits, we would go into Manhattan and then two
Yep.
years and then the eye specialist telling us she can't drive. And I'm like, what? And they're like, she's not going to ever be able to drive again.
Remember him?
I'm
Oh,
like,
so
and
mad.
she was hysterical. And I looked at the doctor and I said, you'll see. I go, you'll see. Just like that. And he didn't know what to make of me anyway. And I
Yeah.
wasn't even sure if she would be able to drive again. But I was like, don't ever put that doubt in somebody's head. Like
Mm-hmm.
you're a doctor, but you do not know what the future is going to hold. You can tell me 90% of your patients couldn't drive, but you're also going to tell me there was a 10% that did. So don't tell
No,
anybody they can't when
that's
you're
right.
not even sure if they can or they cannot. It's only been 2 months.
That's right.
Right.
So that's I don't know, life of back then to
Point of
now.
So
view. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
have a follow-up question for you, Renee,
Uh-huh.
because you are clearly a feisty and fierce superhero of a sister, and I know that Tracy is so thankful for that. But for other caregivers out there who might be listening to this, if they aren't as feisty or fierce as you and they don't know what's going on, what would be questions that you would encourage them to ask? Because
Yeah.
if you don't know what you don't know, you don't even know what to ask.
Back in 2004, there was no support group. Tracy started the first
Right.
support group at Stony Brook Hospital. She had to heal first. She had to go through her, challenges to get to that next level for herself, her own goals. She had to meet them. Eventually, then she was like, okay, now I'm at a point that I'm okay, but I want to help others now. So, and she knew the frustration she went through and that I went through of not knowing anything. So she started a support group. So the very first thing I would say is find a support group that's near you. And if you do not have one, you call a hospital up. It doesn't have to be the hospital that your loved one was in and say, this is what's going on. And I need some sort of help. I need guidance. Not that I need somebody to come here and take care of this person. I need somebody to tell me what I should be looking for. What should I be pushing her to do or not do? Does it matter on the food? Like, I didn't know she couldn't have any dark greens. She was on heparin. Nobody
Right.
said, don't give her spinach. Don't give her anything that's a dark vegetable. I didn't even know what the hell a dark vegetable was. In my mind, they were greens. The green is green. There's
Vitamin
just a
K was
lot
the
out there.
coumadin. Yeah, it was the coumadin you have
So
to watch.
so I'm not afraid to open my mouth and ask, but I know that there are people out there that are. There are
Yeah.
so many support groups out there that you just have to keep going until you find the person that's going to be able to answer your questions in the way that you're going to understand it.
And
And that's it.
frankly, I imagine with a support group, even if you are not the one asking the question, someone will probably ask and you're listening. You're getting the information. So
Right.
Yeah,
that's a great point.
absolutely. Absolutely.
So
And
where do I find a support group? What's another question to ask? One is in the hospital and you're the
Okay.
caregiver. What do you ask?
So then my biggest thing always is I need to understand what happened and what the course of action is now for on their end because I'm not a doctor. I'm not a nurse. All of
Okay.
this is Chinese. So I would definitely suggest that you find one person, whether it's a nurse or a doctor that you connect with in one way or another that has patience, that understands and that will listen to you. You're going to come past so many people, and half of them will blow you off. Three-quarters of them will blow you off, but you're going to find one person because not every doctor, nurse, or employee at a hospital, not all of them, some of them work from their heart, and they're going to connect with you, and they're going to see the fear in your eyes, and they're going to start
Right.
talking to you. And that's what it's going to take. It's going to take that one person that you're going to connect with, and whoever that person is, first of all, thank them for explaining it to you because they need to understand that you haven't had that help before. Nobody was able to do that to you for you. So you're able to calm and breathe and think about the next question that you want to ask. Because when you're in fear, all you're doing is blurting out questions, but you're not even understanding their answers. because you're worried about the next question that you want to remember to ask them. So write that stuff down. Write it on your phone, on whoever that person is. And if you just keep going, I don't care if it's 10 people later, just keep going till you find that person. And when you write your question down, make sure you write their answer, because you're going to forget it, because you're going through emotional roller coaster, and you know that you are going to be responsible when they leave that hospital, because those nurses and doctors are not coming home with you. So I had a pad and I wrote down what my questions were, what their answers were. And when I came home, I would be like, oh shit, what did they say? And I went back and I looked, because there was some ups and downs. There was some times that I was like, I don't know, I don't know what the answer is. And yeah, so that's what I would
Something as
suggest.
simple as,
I
yeah,
love what
something
you
as
said,
simple.
because I think you might go through 2, 5, or 8 people that are not helpful, but keep going is what you're saying. So I love that.
There's also an advocate in the hospital, the social worker. And
Yeah.
if you're not getting your answers from the nurses or the doctors, you absolutely, and it's your right to tell them that you'd like to speak to a social worker. And that social worker,
Mhm.
you open up to that person. And I don't even care if, like for me, when I joked around and I said I was in resource room, like, but no, it's true. And I don't, very street smart, yeah, but fucking book smart, you lost me. You start giving me these big ass words and telling me how that happened and this happened. And I need you to explain it to where I understand it. I'm not going to get it from the book that you learned from in college. You can't give me that terminology. You cannot. I'm not going to get it. So be honest, brutally honest with that social worker of what you're looking for, what you're needing, and what your biggest fear is, why you're not understanding. Whatever your issue is, you got to understand it, because again, they're not coming home with you, and you have to be able to digest this, and you have to live in the fear of, now it's just me taking care of this person in my house, and the
Yeah.
last time this person was in my house, you thought she died and you had to call the ambulance. That's a very scary feeling to have when you bring somebody home that just went through something like that. So
Right. We didn't know. And I remember sleeping so much and my sleep was so off. I would be up all night and then I would have to nap, 3 hours a day. And I remember you having to call the surgeon's office. Like, why is she sleeping so
yeah,
much?
there was no
Yeah.
no question that, they didn't tell me that. I didn't think to ask that. I thought when she came home she
Right.
wouldn't be sleeping as much. But the biggest thing is, you have to have patience for the person that went through it. And that's hard. Sometimes it's very hard.
Mhm. Uh-huh.
When they first come home, you're just so thankful and grateful, and they're alive and whatever you need and this, that, the other thing. So with their demands, you're like, okay, okay, okay. They're not doing it on purpose then and in the future. You just have to remember it was harder for me because, again, she always had a disability, physical disability, but I never saw it. I never took her as that, right? So this almost killed her. And the bitch that I am was like, get up, let's go. Like because I never looked at Tracy as someone who could not do. She could.
Right.
She could. She'll just do it a different way than maybe you would do it, but she'll do it. So you have to have patience. You just have to have patience and understanding, and take care of yourself too. Because in the midst of taking care of that person, taking care of your house, taking care of your family, your kids, your husband, and if you're pregnant or not pregnant, that's here nor there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's here nor there, and you're working. You got to take that time. In the beginning, I didn't, because I was
Right.
afraid. I couldn't take that time. But as time did go on, and I was like, okay, I had a binder this thick of all her medical, all my questions and answers, her doctor's appointments, her specialists, when she had to go. I would write next to it 6-month follow up, 1 year follow up. This is what you have to do when you don't have
Right.
that support. So get the support. That's the most important thing I could say. Wherever you have to get it, through your church, through any organizations, non for profit out there. You can Google this stuff now. You can even go on
Yeah.
Facebook. So much now out there that wasn't there before. But get the help
That
because you
wasn't
need it.
there. And,
You need it.
that's my goal with this business. And I stress all the time the importance of the caregiver and the health of your caregiver. Like, you have to find a way. And I don't know how you did it with 2 teenagers, being pregnant, your husband, the dog, the house renovations, going to real estate. Like, she did it all. And I remember when Jake was born 7 months later, in July. No, this happened in January, the end of January '04. He was born in July. And now she's taking care of a newborn and me, and I'm doing much better, but I'm still, very slow. And my balance was really bad. The eyesight wasn't there really, banging into a wall here and there. But I
Hmm.
always took care of kids, always been around babies and kids. So I always say that Jake being born was my reason to get out of bed because
I would tell you in the hospital when it first happened. I remember saying to you that, listen, I'm having this baby, and you're gonna get better, and you're gonna figure this out. Like, you're not gonna miss this opportunity. Figure this out. Like, that's I was always tough on her, but I'm tough on my daughter too. Ask them. I'm I'm
yeah,
I'm tough on the people that I love, because I never want to hear the woe is me party. I don't want to hear it. You're here. You're alive. You went through it. I understand that. It was emotional. I get it. And it's not that everybody should forget what they went through. I'm not saying that at all. For me, being a caregiver and being who I am and being so strong-minded, I don't want the person that I love, that I watched their whole life, including my children, my sister, I don't want to watch that person be weak for anything, because you
Right.
survived the worst thing that could happen. So now move
Right.
on. Not and
and
and that's the hard part for me, because I never talk about this. I never
never,
open up about this. I lived it. I learned. I lived it. I went through it. It was traumatic. I saw the progress. I was proud. Then it came a point that I said, "Oh, thank God, my sister's back and it's okay, and I don't have to worry anymore." But that was years.
yeah,
It
it
was
took a long
probably
time.
a good 7 to 10 years before I was actually able to just. And then after that, it was
For,
like, I don't want to talk about it no more. Like, we did it, it's done. But
Right.
it's not done for
Mhm.
her. It'll
Along we
never be
come,
done.
ask you to pick up the dust.
It'll never be
Yeah,
done for her or anybody that's been through it. But for me, now I can put that to rest, because that part is done. And I know I did the best that I could for her to get the best care. And I watched her progress, and I watched her get to her goals, and she met all of her goals. She met every fucking goal she put out there. So I don't talk about it. I'm uncomfortable with it, because I never think of negative. I'm always positive. I'm looking at even when she was in the ICU, I was finding a positive out of it. No matter what, I don't care what it was. I was finding, oh, your nails look nice today. Something. I was always a positive. I had to.
Right.
So,
yeah,
Right.
you have to keep saying. I remember when it first happened, and I had so many gaps that I wanted to fill.
oh
And I
yeah,
remember coming home and being like, "Did so and so come to visit?" And
yeah,
I remember some things and not others. And you're
right,
like, you're filling the gaps, and you're like, "Why do you keep talking about it? Stop talking about it." And
yeah.
for me, in
But
order
you
to
couldn't
move
remember.
forward, I
Yeah,
couldn't remember, but I wanted to fill those gaps in
yeah,
order to move forward.
yeah,
Like, like you, I want to know everything. Why did it happen? How did it happen? I want to understand it so
right,
I know how to move forward. And I needed to talk about it a lot. And
yeah.
I remember you didn't want to because,
I didn't.
you didn't want to go back there.
Within the first year I did that, or the second year. It was after that. Like, you would go back and say, after 3 or 4 years, and then you would be like, "Oh yeah, I wanted to ask you." I'm like, "Stop! Well, why do we have to relive this? It was 3 years ago. It was 4 years ago. Like, I don't want to talk about this every time. Like, it's not like
Right,
it was a challenge. It was a freaking big ass speed bump. You got over it. You survived it. Like, let's move on. Let's think positive. Let's think of the future. Don't look back." My favorite saying, and it's anybody and that's going through something traumatic, it's not for them at this moment. I love this saying, is that never look through your rearview mirror, because that's your past. Your windshield is much bigger, and that's your future. And it's bright. So look forward, not backwards. That is my everything when I'm thinking of stuff. Now, not to say somebody having what you guys went through, I never went through. And God, I pray I don't ever. So I have so much respect for what you've been through and how strong you guys came out of it, the other side of it. But I'm not saying it at that moment. I'm saying it years down the road. In any situation that you have, there's a reason your rearview mirror is smaller than your windshield. There's a reason
right,
for it. And that is why when I don't talk about things that were bad or scary or sad, I don't want to. Not because I'm going to forget about it. It'll always be in my heart. I don't want it in
right,
my head. I don't want it taking room
Right.
in my head anymore,
Right.
because there's other things that I can put there.
right.
Wow.
In the same respect, though, the person who went through it needs to understand, and that's part of their healing. And that
Right.
was our biggest issue is
Exactly.
me needing more answers to understand it, to put the whole puzzle together in order
Right.
for me to move forward. And you were like, "Why do you keep bringing this up?"
Yeah.
And it wasn't like I wanted to wallow in my despair or
No, I'm not
Woe
saying
is
that. Not
me.
in the beginning,
Right.
absolutely, and not even now. You're not wanting to wallow. That's I don't want that to come out across that way because that's not what I meant.
Right.
What I'm saying is, in general, in life, to look back at all the triumphs and all the things that you've overcame. When you look at somebody and you're looking at that person as a strong individual, and that person's looking at themselves, going, "Well, I can't do it because of." Don't ever put that wall up. Don't ever put that out there in the universe. Don't just figure out another way to
Mhm.
do it. That's how I am, and again, it's not relating to what you have gone through. I'm just saying in life in general.
Mhm.
There was hard times with her. There were really hard times. There were times that I was like, stop, because I was saying stop, not because she kept, I couldn't hear it anymore. My brain
Right.
couldn't take it anymore. My heart didn't want to feel it anymore. I
Right.
needed that to stop. She couldn't have
Right.
it stop because she was trying to mend her heart, right? She was trying to fix her brain and understand what the hell actually happened to her. So we were in two different places. I was at a place where, thank
Mhm.
God, she's alive, she's good, she's rehabilitated, she's going to continue, she's going to move forward. And she was at a place that, thank God I'm alive and I'm rehabilitated, but what the fuck happened to me? And how did
Yeah.
I miss? What happened? Why did it happen? I don't
Right.
understand this part. I didn't want to remember it. I was past that. And not to say anybody
Right.
that lived it could ever get past it. You can't. I get that.
Right.
But for the loved one, it's okay to forgive yourself and to
Mhm.
move on. For the loved one, it's okay
Right.
to be, I've had enough, but not in a bad way. I just can't take that pain no more. I lived it every day and every minute. For how long?
Right.
And we are past all of that now. Thank God.
You saying that to me when I needed to know more answers and I had more questions.
Yeah.
And then you said that you're like, I
We
can't go
can't
back
talk
there.
about it
It's too
anymore.
painful. And then that's when it clicked for me. Like I felt so bad for what you all went through. Brendan and I talk about it all the time.
Right.
The fear that they put into you when
Mhm.
I was going to surgery, when you told
And
me that, she may not come out of it. She may be a vegetable, whatever, whatever. I
yep.
can't imagine hearing that about like
It's
you or
so
any one of my
scary.
loved ones.
So scary. It,
So bad that you guys went through that because for me, it
yeah.
was like the headache was gone. I'm fine. All right. I can go home now. Like I
Right.
didn't know any of that. I didn't know how severe it was. I came out
No.
of surgery and I'm like, I'm thirsty. I'm
Yeah.
so thirsty. And they're like, all right,
Right.
we'll give you Jello when you get
Right.
set
Right.
up. And when
Yeah.
you guys walked in and you're looking at
It's
me,
amazing. You were like, oh, I feel so much better. And I'm like,
yeah,
bitch, you just went through, like, you don't even know what you went through. You're like,
Right.
I feel
yeah,
so much better. I don't have a headache anymore.
yeah, that's
No,
all.
that
Yeah,
headache
and
was
I remember you
intense.
guys walking in at the foot of my bed, and you all look like zombies, like, you're looking at me like you saw
We
a
didn't,
ghost, like, "What the fuck?" And I'm just eating Jello, and I remember the doctor starting to ask questions, and you were the furthest to the left, and remember, I couldn't see to the left, and
yeah.
they didn't know that
Oh,
yet.
yeah. Yeah.
So he's pointing, "Who's that? Who's that?" And he pointed to you first,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I didn't see he was pointing to you. Oh my god, do you remember that happening? Because I
I
remember what
do.
I said.
Go ahead. What'd you say?
Yeah, I remember him saying, "Who's that?" And his finger was over here, and I couldn't turn my head because of the tube. So he's pointing to you because you're on the furthest left. I hesitated, and you screamed, "Oh my God, she doesn't know who I am."
She better fucking remember me.
And
And
then
then
as
she
soon
was
as
like,
I
"Oh,
heard
that's
your
my
voice,
sister." She goes, "That's my sister. That's my sister." And I'm like, "You were so damn lucky you said that because
because I
for
couldn't
me,
see
I
who
was
he was
standing out
pointing,
of the
I said, "Oh,
way.
I can't see who you're pointing to." But as soon as I heard her voice, I'm like, "Oh,
I was
that's my
pissed.
sister."
I was pissed. I was like, "I haven't left your bed since the second this happened. You better fucking say my name."
That was the funniest thing, and I
Yeah,
remember going, "I can't see who you're pointing to," and they
yeah,
didn't realize that I had lost that peripheral vision.
right,
But, yeah, I remember a lot of funny moments.
yeah.
I remember my Aunt Judy at the time, she
Uh,
knew that all I wanted was Jello because I was always so thirsty, so she made a big cooler of Jello, remember that? And
yeah.
she put Jello in bowls in a cooler by my bed, and after a few days, we're like, "What is that smell? Like, what?" It was the oddest, horrible smell, and my sister tracked it down, she goes, "Jesus Christ, it's the Jello from Judy."
Disgusting.
Why it smelled so bad, it was just
Smelled
Jello.
like cat litter.
My god. Yeah, there were times that the whole family came up and you would call from the street and you'd be like, "All right, we're here. What do you wanna eat? There's the deli, the pizza place, the
Oh
Greek,
yeah,
whatever."
yeah.
So and then I still talk about this, how you would bring up a whole pizza for the nursing staff and the doctors.
Or bring them like a platter of fruit or, something. Just because, you know what, we appreciate what they're doing. We appreciate everything that they're doing. And the ones that I didn't feel that they were just there punching in and punching out basically for work, I'm going to be honest, I didn't give them shit. I like, I don't want them getting it. They were like, well, you can't. I was so mad at them. I was so mad. I didn't care. I was like, no, I wanted to trip them in the hallway. Let them go to the ER and see how they feel. Let them hit their
Yeah, she
fucking
doesn't
head.
hold back. She does not hold back at all. But anyway, I was so thankful, and every day I'm still thankful that I had her. I had my family. Everyone just rallied. I remember my aunt doing my laundry for me, drawers. I had, at first I had PT and OT. Do you remember the pregnant OT? The therapist
Yeah.
saying, I can't do anything for you.
Yeah.
I was like, what the hell? But once I could start, they didn't want me leaving the house because it was the dead of winter and it was a very bad winter and everything was icy all the time and we had stairs.
Yeah.
So at first I didn't have to leave the house really except to go to the hematologist. But everybody, my aunt, my poor niece, Emily, oh my God,
Yeah.
she had to deal with so much. I mean, I was in her room. I was
They
supposed to
shared a
have
room
moved
together.
out. Yeah,
They
we
shared
were
the
roommates.
smallest room in the house together.
Yeah, the two of us, and then she would take the air bed, the air mattress, and go sleep. The poor kid had to sleep in the living room because, her mother would be like, "Get out of there, she needs to sleep. You go in the living room because she needs quiet." But yeah, my poor niece. I wish she would come on. Maybe one day she will.
She's tough, like, it's how I raised her. It's how, it's not a good
Yeah.
thing. I'm not saying that in a positive light. Because when you raise somebody to be tough, then they become too tough and they don't think that anybody's going to stop them doing they can. I want her to always feel that way though, but at the same time I want her heart to be soft if she's a bitch.
Emily's Emily's a sweetheart, and she
Yeah.
helps me so much, even to this day. Like she's always trying to help me do whatever. So, on that note, I think we can wrap this up. Renee, was it as bad as you thought it would be to go back there?
No, I'm okay. I'm going to now go for a drive and I'm going to release it.
Good.
That's what I have to do because that's how I handle it. I don't, it brings back the memories. I can talk about it, but now I'm going to need time to not even forget about it, but release it. Just release it and say,
Yeah.
it's fine. Don't relive it. In my mind, don't relive it. Don't go there with your heart. Don't go there with your mind, and don't think about what happened then. Because look at you now. Look at her now. Like it's
Right.
no stopping. You know.
And
So
now,
what I'm doing.
if I want to go back now, it's because I want some input about what to give my clients when I end up getting them, as far as what caregivers need.
Yeah.
Like I always ask for your input, like, as far as worksheets or toolkits, as far as taking care of yourself.
The biggest
So
thing,
you don't get,
Tracy, is the communication that the person that's going to take care of the loved one that's going to take care of the person. The biggest thing is communication. They have to be able to communicate. I don't care if they're deaf. I don't care if they hardly speak English. I don't care if they stutter. There's got to be a way that that person has to be able to communicate with someone that's going to get them the help that they need. Do it this way and do it that way and don't stop. That's my biggest thing to say is do not keep going until you find somebody that is going to understand you. Keep going until that person's going to explain it to you like it's your relative sitting down on the couch with you, putting a band-aid on your finger. That's how much you need to understand it so you can go to sleep at night.
and I definitely think that caregivers now have the option. There are support groups for
There are.
caregivers, and we had nothing. Like there was nothing on the internet even.
But they have to utilize it. They don't know it's there. So the hospitals need to tell the family members in the hospital, hey,
Yeah.
here's a card or here's a QR code. Scan it. This is a support group that,
Right.
or reach out to this, social work, whatever. Give them
Right.
some sort of life, some
Or to listen to this podcast that we've come up.
Yeah. Yeah. Listen to this podcast. You want some
exactly.
support. Yeah.
Exactly. And you guys should be putting it out there for sure. Put it out there. Let them know. Let the hospitals know. I mean, did you check to see other podcasts that are out there for this? But listen to them
hmm
and see if they're talking just about doctors and nurses or are they talking about the people, the family, the patient, the
hmm
situations. Like those are the podcasts that matter. You're not in it to
And Renee, I know that Tracy wants to wrap up, but I just wanted to say that because you were talking about how tough Emily is, but I
Mm.
look at you as this beautiful blend of you are fierce, you're a badass, but you have the heart of gold.
Yes.
And you
Thank you.
being into the
Yeah.
other room, take care of those people who are alone is such a beautiful thing. So thank you for that.
You
Yeah.
don't have to think. I'll never change. I don't want to. You
Yeah.
take me
And
good, bad,
and
ugly. Yeah, however it is, I speak my mind, and it always comes from my heart first.
Yeah.
So, but thank
Absolutely.
you, ladies. It was a good conversation. I'm gonna go for my nice drive, and I'm proud of the both of you.
thank
Well,
you.
thank you for
So
all
happy
your
to meet you
support.
today.
Yeah. Thanks
Okay.
for always being there for me and looking after me and helping me and everything a big sister could do, you do. So I appreciate that. I love you.
Love you too.
And that's
Yeah.
it. And Bren, we usually have a tip of the day, but my tip is have a good advocate. Yeah. Well, thanks everyone for being here with us today. And thanks to my sister Renee. And by the way, if you're looking for a house, give Renee a call. I'll put her phone number in the comments. And that's all. We'll see you guys soon. Bye bye.
Bye.